Will guests please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem. NPTU Charleston, attention. Huh. Nuclear Power Training Unit, Charleston, arriving. Commander, Submarine Group 10, arriving. Please remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Brady.
Shall we pray? Eternal and gracious God, we stand with bowed down heads, lifted hearts to thank you for this graduating class assembled before us today. Loving Lord, it was you who gave these sailors the grace and the grit to dedicate themselves to complete demanding studies, endure changing weekly shifts, and satisfy all the necessary requirements needed to qualify to be a nuclear sailor in the fleet. Today, we can truly say, in the case of all of our graduates, you, O Lord, have been their unseen, unfailing, sustaining, potent presence that lifted these sailors when they were down in duress, strengthened them when they were weak and worn, and propelled them not only unto this day, but unto a bright and promising future ahead. Now, O God, as these sailors prepare to go into the fleet, report to a surface ship above or a submarine below, continue to protect, prosper, and keep them, we pray. And finally, O God, I ask that you graciously remember and bless the families of the sailors who supported them, the instructors and the staff who taught them, the chiefs and officers who mentored them, share the joy of this day with these sailors. All these things we ask in your most holy name. Amen.
Please be seated. NPTU Charleston, at ease. Admiral Buchanan, Ambassador Carter, Site Command Master Chief Montello, Captain Kep, distinguished guests, family, friends, welcome to Naval Nuclear Power Training Unit Charleston graduation ceremony for Class 2303. I'm Commander John Fitzpatrick, the Site Executive Officer for NPTU Charleston. We are very pleased that you can join us today as we recognize the sailors who dedicated so much of their time and effort in this final phase of their training. While we recognize those students who will stand out from their peers, it is important to remember that each student who graduates today has dedicated thousands of hours of effort in pursuit of this moment. Today is about the accomplishments of our sailors as they complete the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Training Pipeline. Please join me in a round of applause for family, friends, and shipmates who have played a large part in the success of our sailors getting to this point today. Thank you. You have our It is now my pleasure to introduce the NPTU Charleston Commanding Officer, Captain Reed Kep. Captain Kep is a career submariner who has had command of the fast attack submarine USS Colorado and is now in his major command tour here at NPTU Charleston.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Great to have you here. And you timed this really good because the next few graduations we do over coming months, it's going to be pretty warm in here. So your timing is impeccable. So great job on that. Hey, I want to give a few shout outs to some folks, maybe a little bit of education before I introduce our guest speaker. So let me go ahead and get started with that. Hey, thanks for the Patriots Point staff here on the former USS Yorktown. Cannot think of a better venue, a better setting to send our team out to their first assignments following here than out of a action-proven warship that we've used to here in Charleston also to memorialize that. And I'm just very grateful for the Patriots Point staff. So thank you. Hey, I want to give a shout out to my staff as well. So I have about 1,500 active duty Navy staff, with 300 plus Naval Nuclear Laboratories, civilians and others that operate our reactor plants and our high fidelity simulation equipment and other facilities to keep this training mission moving so that we continue to staff and equip our fleets around the world. So our staff, they're working right now. We work 24/7, 365, even on Christmas, to keep our mission running. So I want to give a shout out to my staff and all their hard work. Okay, all right, now I would like to acknowledge our veterans. So if you're willing and able and you're a veteran in the room, would you please stand? Thank you. And I'm not going to do public math right here, but that's a pretty hefty percentage of the room, so thank you for that. Hey, another group. Hey, if you're a spouse of someone graduating today and you're willing and able, would you please stand? Hey, good job, spouse back there with the flowers. Nice job. I need to take some lessons from you. Good job. Hey, over my career, I've just watched the spouses just eye-watering service to our nation, whether it's volunteering for your ship, for the Navy, for the community, or you're just adjusting to life in a new place, helping a friend and a shipmate. Maybe they're adjusting for the first time. I'll tell you, those of us that are wearing uniform, we know that we can't do what we're doing without you. So it means a lot that you're here. So thank you for that. Hey, just a little bit of education about what we do on site. Again, I told you my staff numbers. We operate 2 converted Los Angeles class submarines that we've converted to training platforms. They have actual operating nuclear reactors. So all these operators that are certified today have had that hands-on experience and certification. We're also incorporating high-fidelity simulation equipment. That's the way of the future. That's where we know we're headed. So we're able to do that over the next few years to make sure that we're good at that and we're equipped and ready. And that's the kind of equipment that we're using. We talked about the time schedule. Our staff that do that, majority of them or what we call sea returnees. We brought them back, put them through a rigorous qualification, master training specialist program so that they're ready to support this training mission, okay? So who's graduating today? All right, so first let me tell you that. So walking across the stage, who are you gonna see? So I'll start with the officers. So what we call SWO nukes, Surface Warfare Officers Nuclear Trained. These are individuals that joined the Navy. They've already been warfare qualified on a conventional ship, and they've come to get their nuclear training and certification, and now we're gonna send them back out to their first aircraft carrier. So we're excited for them. For our other officers, many of the other ones are submarine officers, and they're getting ready to report to their first fast attack submarine, ballistic missile submarine, or perhaps a guided missile submarine. So you'll see them walking across the stage. We have another cadre of officers that we call DIOs, or direct input officers. These are folks that we recruited out of college. They're on a 5-year commitment. They go through the same rigorous nuclear training qualification program, and then they'll come back and they'll work for me as an instructor for their 5-year commitment, working through that same rigorous high standard of qualifications and training our next generation of sailors. You may see in various classes a few civilians walk across the stage. These are hired Naval Nuclear Laboratory employees. They go through, again, same qualification program, and then they will come on to my staff, and they will be embedded into the training curriculum where they stand watch, they give certification events, and they're involved in that very much. Okay, now for the enlisted sailors. Again, electrical operators or electricians mate nuclear, reactor operators, electronics technicians nuclear, or mechanical operators, machinists mate nuclear. In addition to that, you'll hear us say that somebody's going to say ELT school. What that is engineering laboratory technician. That's someone that will hand select, where we pick from our mechanical operators that'll stay behind with me for a few more weeks at school, and we'll give them additional training on proper chemistry controls for our reactor and our secondary plants so we can maintain the integrity of the platforms that we operate. Very tough job. We're glad they're doing it. To continue to invest in their schools and their education, continue training and development, we offer additional assignments or schools that they'll do en route to their ship. So some of the mechanics will go to nuclear field weld school where there'll be nuclear welders. Some will go to what we call PP-LAN, or Propulsion Plant Local Area Network School. That's why we made an acronym. It's not easy to say. And we just make a lot of acronyms in the Navy. We always try to send a handful to dive school. Those that go to submarines, we do need divers on our submarines. And for those that are getting assigned to some of our newest submarines that are being built, we will send them what we call design school, where they'll go up to the laboratory and they'll get additional specialized training in a reactor that's new in its design and we'll be using for the first time. So we want them to be equipped to do that. Okay, that's the kind of work we're getting ready to do, and it keeps coming throughout their naval careers. Okay, now another thing I want to point out to you, you'll see many of the sailors walking across with 2 chevrons, or with the rank of 2nd class petty officer. These are nuclear sailors who took advantage of the opportunity to do what we call STAR re-enlist. So that's selective retention bonus program. To be eligible for that program, there's a certain time in service of 21 months, good standing in the Navy, and certified, qualified as a nuclear operator here at Prototype. Okay, so if they elect that STAR re-enlistment, what that does, it gives them 2 years on their initial commitment, but it's 2 years of a guaranteed shore duty. So at the end of their sea tour, I'm guaranteeing that they'll have 2 years to come back to a shore duty, whether that's here with me, if they're lucky, right? Or if they go to one of our other maintenance or training facilities, okay? So it's a very good program. What are the benefits of it? It's an automatic advancement to the next pay grade of 2nd class petty officer. It allows them the opportunity to not live in the barracks or the ship. It gives them the opportunity to live in town and get the housing allowance that comes with that. There's also a significant financial incentive. So for this class that we're graduating, for those that have selected it, it adds up to about $6.5 million of bonus money we're issuing out to our nuclear sailors for an average bonus of $60,000. Okay? So why do I tell you that? Because not everybody did it. And so I want you to be educated on what their choices are. And some of the reason that they're still waiting to do that enlistment is because some have not met that 21 months because of their school requirements. So as they get out to the fleet, they'll have an opportunity to make this to make this choice. So I want to make sure that we're educated as a team here on what opportunities we have, how we educate, what the professional development opportunities are. And I do that because I also have kids that are out of college, in college, and in high school. And I've learned through the years, I don't know if you were like me, have you ever sat at the dinner table and you're trying to figure out what's going on and you get like a good? So somehow or another we can sum up life experiences with good at home. Anyway, so I want to help educate you on that so you know what's available. Okay, great. Now before I introduce our guest speaker, I do want to get to know you just a little bit. Okay, this is interactive. So I'd like to know who thinks they traveled from the farthest away. Tell me where you came from. Oh, just shout it out. Los Angeles. Anybody else? Montana. Anybody can beat Montana? Oregon? California. So we have some Californias, Montanas, New Mexico, Hawaii. We got a Hawaii. All right. Aloha. Yeah, and mahalo for being here. All right. Anybody beat Hawaii? We had a Germany at the last graduation. All right. Great job, Hawaii. All right. All right. Let me introduce our guest speaker. I'd like to welcome Rear Admiral Buchanan. Graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy, also a career submariner. He had command of the fast attack submarine USS Albany, also Commodore of Submarine Squadron 20, and he's currently serving as the commander of the submarine group in Kings Bay, Georgia, in charge of all the ballistic missile and guided missile submarines on the East Coast. Please welcome Rear Admiral Buchanan.
So I'm not as good as Reed, so I actually have prepared remarks. He does it off the top of his head. He's probably done 100 of these graduations in his time here. But as I did in the last graduation that we did just an hour or so ago, I want to recognize these two gentlemen up here, Master Chief Montello, who I've known for a number of years, Captain Kep, I've been to this ceremony once in November of 22, shortly after I took command of Submarine Group 10, and the exceptional job that these two guys have done leading the NPTU team to higher and more impressive levels of performance, dropping attrition in ways that get our sailors to the fleet, properly trained, ready to go. We are desperately in need of sailors. You can look at the news. We don't have everybody we need, and we need everybody that signs on the dotted line. So your support of your sailors is super important. Their support of this very, very critical mission has been absolutely outstanding. So let's give them a round of applause. Okay, Ambassador Carter, welcome. Good to meet you for the first time. So good to have you here. To our sailors, officers that are getting ready, just bear with me for a few minutes. I am going to hopefully give you a couple things to think about. As I've been told in these sorts of ceremonies, you probably won't remember much of what I say, quite frankly. And I know it's a low bar. Hopefully I give you just a couple of nuggets. Maybe somebody in the audience will pay attention and they can ask you about it sometime down the road, and we'll go from there. But it really is great to be with you. I am the last barrier between you and sort of destinations afar. I recognize that, and I'll do my best to be as brief as possible, because we do have to get everybody through the line. Appreciate all those that have traveled here. We're going to get 2303 across the line, but today we celebrate and recognize the honor, courage, and commitment, those Navy core values required to traverse this demanding curriculum. You, the sailors and officers that completed this, exemplified the Navy core values every day by completing arguably the hardest academically and most rigorous training program that we have in the United States Navy. Our nuclear-powered warships forward are lurking and patrolling the seas and launching aircraft and strikes against our adversaries and preparing that important battle space for opportunities to come. And nuclear power underpins all of it, right? So you may not be on the flight deck, but you're in the bows of the ship making it happen. You may not be on the bridge of a submarine, but you're making it happen every day, always on guard, always ready. So thanks for choosing to be part of an important and very critical and impactful team. I would like to thank the NPTU staff. The guidance and leadership that you provide is invaluable in shaping the next generation of nuclear operators. Thank you for that unwavering support to our Navy's mission and getting 2303 in particular across the finish line. They play a vital role, as Captain Kep said, and as we look at our nuclear training pipeline, it is purpose-built to develop technical competence required to safely operate our propulsion plants, of which we have about 100, divided between 71 submarines and 11 aircraft carriers. It indoctrinates the operator in the right safety culture to enable effective teamwork, and underpinning our competence and that culture is the character of our service, so that we operate these plants with integrity and we can operate them everywhere and anywhere around the globe. You may find this hard to believe, but I actually liked prototype training. I may be in the minority, but it really was the first time in my short naval career back in, way back machine in 1993 when I went through MTS 635, doesn't even exist any longer, where I could visibly see the light at the proverbial end of the tunnel. And no doubt we cannot train operators without this vital stop in this journey, but it really is our operational forces and the work that goes into preparing those operational forces for forward deployments that is so essential and that I wanted to be a part of, right? Can't do that by staying here. You can't see the world by staying here in Charleston, unfortunately, even though how great it is. But it's out to go do the business of the Navy. So I thank you for that choice. I'm sure there is a healthy mix of emotions right now. You know, this idea of excitement, there's some uncertainty, there's some nervousness, hopefully not too much ambivalence about what the future holds, because I know that this is a tremendous opportunity for you. I would really ask that you embrace it. I'm excited for all of you. And so take some time in this transition, however quick it is, to maybe think about that future just a bit, right? You might want to write down some near-term goals, maybe some intermediate goals, maybe even look at some stretch goals in your time in naval service, or once that service is successfully completed, what do you want to do in life? And the Navy is a tremendous enabler for life, I can assure you. It will fly by. I've been in the service for 31 years, going on 32 here in a couple of months. My dad served for 31 years. My father-in-law served for 33 years. I've had service kind of running through my veins. That doesn't mean everybody does. By virtue of the number of veterans we saw in the audience, it does run in the family, and that's important. Not that the military is a family business, but we need that families to stay and continue to source our military for the future. But we also need others to do so too. So where we talk about every sailor is a recruiter, every family member is a recruiter. It's not always glorious duty, I recognize it, but it does provide a tremendous opportunity for the future. So if I could give you just a simple framework to kind of bookend that discussion, and something I kind of use every day, it's a little mental checklist I use, and I call it the Mental Fitness 5. And it's important as you get into stressful situations, of which nuclear power operations aren't the easiest thing that we do. It is a stressful business, right? There's time constraints, everything goes to it, exacting standards. But this Mental Fitness 5 hopefully will give you some relief. So exercise, right? Keep moving, getting moving. You know, strength, cardio, mobility, it doesn't matter. Just do it, right? You will not regret it. Find the time. Sleep, the adequacy and consistency of that sleep is important. Of course, we don't always do that great in this business, but getting the sleep and restoring that energy is super important as you get into stressful environments. Eat right. Garbage in equals garbage out, so don't put garbage in. Try to do that and think about what you're putting in your body every day. It's super important. And then reflection, taking some quiet time, you know, whether that's reading, whether that's thought, whether, you know, in this day and age, whether it's prayer or anything, something for the spirit, right? Not necessarily organized religion, but something that brings the thoughts and calms the mind. And then this last thing is social connectedness. We are in a human business. Look to the left, look to the right of you sailors. I'll tell you what, we don't get and put vessels at sea far away from land without being really good to each other about being a good human business, okay? And it is our asymmetric advantage over our adversary, I can assure you. Simple, but if you think about that daily, those simple 5, when you feel great, I bet you hit all 5. When you feel not so great, I bet you 1 or more of those things is missing. All right, as we celebrate the accomplishments of our graduates today, I want to reiterate the critical importance of the force you are about to join. Those heading to carriers will support continuous visible presence, 90,000 tons of U.S. diplomacy in all theaters across the globe. In today's world of strategic competition, those carrier strike groups are formidable and indispensable assets in projecting American power and safeguarding our national interests around the globe. Okay, those en route to submarines are key members of the United States deterrent force and will be a part of a dominant undersea warfighting team. You will be apex predators, right? That's top of the food chain. You will engage in some of the nation's most sensitive missions: anti-submarine warfare, special operations support, strategic deterrence, the business that I'm in, and conventional strike warfare. The guided missile submarine Florida, deployed to the Red Sea, recently launched multiple successful precision strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. Remember that's an Iranian-aligned militia group. On station was enabled by nuclear power. The silent service is becoming more and more vocal. We remain at the tip of the United States spear, just as those carriers do. Some of you may serve on our ballistic missile submarines. We have some in Pac Northwest or down in Kings Bay with me. Along with our ICBMs and our bomber force, we make up the 3 legs of the strategic deterrent triad. It's a powerful warning to our adversaries. We possess overwhelming force, never want to use it, but it's the greatest peace weapon we have. Your country needs you now more than ever. America's presence is a critical enabler worldwide. I will leave you with my personal framework for this service. It goes something like this. It's our mission, your story, one team. Simple 6 words, you can remember them, you can talk to them, you can even apply it in your own lives. Okay, it underpins the CNO's, or Chief of Naval Operation, Admiral Franchetti's priorities of warfighting, warfighters, and the foundation that supports them. Our mission: the Navy is fundamentally a deterrent force. We exist to deter our adversaries. When that deterrence fails, we act, okay? So please take some time to understand why we do what we do and what we do, and work together to overcome challenges as they occur, because they will occur. One team. Our nation requires a creative and adaptive team to maintain our competitive edge. Deeply understanding your team, the team you're joining, the team you'll be a part of, and integrating your ideas will create ownership and connectedness we need to succeed. Every sailor has value, and the best teams harness everyone's value in support of the mission. Finally, right in the center of it, our mission, your story, one team, your story, central to all of it, is this idea of, okay, what is it you want to be? Okay, this is not a chest-pumping assertion of your story. This is not a social media, filled story, but this is about building your story every day. What goes into that? And we do so with an impeccable integrity and character, and it's really important to elevate those stories around you, getting to know each other. In closing, as we celebrate the accomplishments of our graduates today, let us reaffirm that our commitment to upholding the proud traditions of the United States, of which these graduation ceremonies are one. You really are the heart and soul of the fleet, although I acknowledge at times it may not always feel that way when we get caught up in the grind, but it is through your unwavering dedication and sacrifice that we will continue to safeguard our nation at sea, from the sea, by the sea. And to close, I leave you with one of my favorite quotes, which is from a guy, Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor. He wrote a book called A Man's Search for Meaning. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. Everything can be taken from from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Viktor Frankl saw the worst of humanity, and that guy had a positive attitude every day. We can do it. All right? Congratulations on a fast and fantastic start to your journey on this fantastic achievement. Really proud of each and every one of you. Enjoy the day with your families and see you in the fleet. God bless.
Thank you, Admiral. The Navy League Award, the Navy League, represented by Commander Jim Offutt, retired, presents an award for each MTS to the first sailor who qualifies as a nuclear operator. Mr. Offutt is a retired naval aviator who has logged hundreds of flight hours in combat and launched and recovered from this very deck when she was a commissioned warship. He has previously served as president of the national chapter of the Navy League and is currently the president of the Charleston chapter of the Navy League. Mr. Offutt.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to be with you. It's nice to represent Navy League, which is one of 3 organizations designated as military service organizations. We have the Navy designation and support the Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. And if you're around Charleston, there's a maritime presence. And so Navy League also supports our mariners, and we're happy to do that mission. Our mantra is educate, advocate, and support. So support, I just talked about, we support the active duty, and we do what we can to help morale, welfare, and rec activities and make the good living conditions for our people on active duty as best we can. So maybe as the only retired person to talk to you all who are graduating, heading to the fleet, let me say welcome to the long blue line. Those of us who are serving and have served, welcome you to the team, our team, the Navy's team. So thank you for choosing to do this. Navy League, again, is educating. We do lots of things, just like everybody else, public relations, and we do legislative affairs. I'm sure those of us who have served in Washington understand how hard the legislative process is, how scarce resource dollars are. So Navy League is up there at Washington trying to advocate for Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marine, and we enjoy doing that. And we're citizens who do that. As citizens, we have both people who don't serve and people who are serving or have served, and we all welcome the opportunity to do that. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing your graduates. I will get out of the road also. Thank you.
The Navy League Award goes to EMN3 Jesse Calloway. Where's he at? Where's he at? There he is. The Commanding Officer's Personal Excellence Award is presented to the sailor chosen from each crew who exhibits the greatest degree of professionalism. The selection criterion for this award takes into consideration student effort, motivation, adaptability, personal development, and performance of duty. Personal Excellence Award winners for MTS 701 are MMN3 Robert Barger, EMN3 Corby Akbari, MMN3 Thomas Brodigam. ETN3 Justin Folsom. EMN3 James Swap. Now, ladies and gentlemen, yes, sir.
Hey, there was something I forgot to tell you guys. So make sure you come up front, take a picture. You came all the way here for it, right? And I think the thing that they told me earlier, did I tell you about them liking to embarrass you? Embarrass them? Like they told me that when I was back there getting the selfie with them. They're like, they like when you shout at them. They like hearing things like, I love my sailor. They love nicknames. Just keep it PG if you don't mind. It's on video. But like, come up here, take a picture, and make sure you have fun with it.
Sir, thank you, sir. Okay, and now, Class 2303. MMN3 Osric Abad, headed to ELT school. ETN3 Addison Adams, headed to USS George Washington. ETN3 Andrew Augustin, headed to USS Rhode Island. Ensign Byron Alvarado, headed to USS Hampton. MMN3 Nathan Benedict Andres, headed to ELT school. Ensign Dylan Banco, headed to USS Topeka. EMN3 Helen Barrere, headed to USS Florida Gold. MMN3 Maximiliano Bartolo Faustino, headed to USS Theodore Roosevelt. MMN3 Ty Bate, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. Ensign Sean Bald, headed to USS California. MMN3 Michaela Benson, headed to ELT school. EMN3 Jackson Bigar, remaining at NPTU Charleston as a junior staff instructor. ETN3 Grayson Blofus, headed to USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. Ensign Nicholas Bracci, headed to USS Jimmy Carter. EMN3 David Brand, headed to USS Pennsylvania Blue. Ensign Ian Brill, headed to USS Scranton. Ensign Ryan Brink, headed to USS Oregon. MMN3 Caleb Brooks, headed to ELT school. Ensign Grayson Browder, remaining at NPTU Charleston as an instructor. MMN3 Brian Brown, headed to USS Washington. ETN3 Faith Brown, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. Lieutenant Junior Grade Gregory Burgess, headed to USS Charlotte. Ensign Connor Byrne, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, Montana. EMN3 Jesse Calloway, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. MMN3 Lamar Campbell, headed to USS West Virginia, blue. MMN3 Matthew Caratazzolo, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. MMN3 Emmanuel Carrion, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, Utah. ETN3 Kevin Carteen, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. EMN3 Daniela Carvajal, headed to USS Gerald R. Ford. EMN3 Robert Seja Chow, headed to USS Ronald Reagan. MMN3 Jeremiah Christopher, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. Ensign John Clifford, headed to USS Helena. MMN3 Nicholas Coker, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. Ensign Joseph Colley, headed to USS Florida Gold. MMN3 Aiden Cosgrove, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. Ensign Jackson Krause, headed to USS Wyoming. MMN3 Keith Cudworth, headed to USS Wyoming. Ensign Theodore Danielson, headed to USS Henry M. Jackson Gold. EMN3 Vasti Fidel de Gracia, headed to USS Ohio. MMN3 Michael Dixon, headed to ELT school. EMN3 Ethan Donovan, headed to USS Theodore Roosevelt. Ensign Catherine Duford, headed to USS Nebraska. Ensign Griffin Dunn, headed to USS South Dakota. MMN3 Benjamin Estes, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. Ensign William Fedor, headed to USS Minnesota. MMN3 Carter Felt, headed to ELT school. MMN3 Matthew Fisher, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. EMN3 Alejandro Flores, headed to USS Columbia. EMN3 Aiden Fox, headed to USS New Hampshire. Ensign Tyler Frederick, headed to USS Columbia. MMN3 Evan Fritchie, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. ETN3 Caleb Fritzler, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, Arkansas. EMN3 Logan Galloway, headed to USS North Dakota. EMN3 Luke Gatlin, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, Massachusetts. Lieutenant Junior Grade Jeremy Gerstein, headed to USS Georgia Gold. ETN 3 Joshua Gipp, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. MMN 3 Evan Goodrich, headed to ELT school. Ensign Aiden Greeley Scamby, headed to USS Washington. ETN 3 Kyle Green, headed to USS Scranton. ETN 3 Vincent Guerrero, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. ETN 3 Morgan Hale, headed to USS South Dakota. MMN 3 Raymond Hanchy, headed to USS Theodore Roosevelt. MMN 3 Jack Hartley, headed to USS Columbus. MMN 3 Graham Harvey, headed to USS Florida Blue. MMN 3 Seth Hughes, headed to USS Connecticut. MMN 3 Amar Ishtawi, headed to USS John C. Stennis. Ensign Anna Isom, headed to USS Louisiana Gold. Ensign Matthew Jarris, headed to USS Virginia. MMN 3 David Jones, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, Iowa. ETN 3 Jaleel Jones Valentine, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. MMN 3 Joshua Keegan, headed to ELT school. MMN 3 Trinity Kemper, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. Ensign Joshua Kim, headed to USS Connecticut. Ensign Carolyn Kester, headed to USS Wyoming Gold. MMN FN Nicholas Kostler, headed to USS Nimitz. Ensign Catherine Krim, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, New Jersey. EMN 3 James Krieger, headed to USS Georgia Blue. MMN 3 Joel Kufal, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. Ensign Noah Langton, headed to USS Asheville. MMN 3 Jack Lansky, headed to ELT school. MMN 3 David Lara Quinta, headed to USS Carl Vinson. ETN 3 Nathaniel Larson, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. MMN 3 Caton Lemke, headed to USS Florida Gold. ETN 3 Brandon Lester, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. MMN 3 Riley Linnell, headed to USS Nimitz. MMN 3 Andy Lopez Lebron, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. MMN3 Tristan Lundy, headed to ELT school. Ensign Stephen Machado, still working on his orders. Ensign Michael Madison, headed to USS Florida. MMN3 Nathaniel Martinez, headed to USS Annapolis. Ensign Matiloni, or correction, EMN3 Matilona Matela, headed to USS Carl Vinson. MMN3 Connor McDaniel, headed to USS John C. Stenner. BTN3 Lauren McKim, headed to USS Nimitz. EMN3 Isaac Mercado, headed to USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. EMN3 Anna Meyer, remaining at NPTU Charleston as a junior staff instructor. ETN3 Hunter Mills, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. ETN3 Cameron Mofield, headed to USS Gerald R. Ford. MMN3 Bryce Mundy, headed to USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. MMN3 Joseph Myers, headed to USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. ETN3 Ryan Nafziger, headed to USS Virginia. MMN3 Ethan Nash, headed to USS John C. Stennis. MMN3 Januel Negron Delgado, headed to ELT school. EMN3 Stephen Nelson, headed to pre-commissioning unit John F. Kennedy. ETN3 Nicholas Noel, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. EMN3 Christian Olivares, headed to USS John C. Stennis. Ensign Andrew Peters, headed to USS San Juan. MMN3 Austin Petrocelli, headed to USS John Warner. ETN3 Jaden Petty, headed to USS Virginia. EMN3 Sierra Poe, headed to pre-commissioning unit John F. Kennedy. MMN3 Kendall Prien, headed to USS Theodore Roosevelt. MMN3 Manuel Quinones, headed to USS Carl Vinson. MMN3 Michael Ramsey, headed to ELT school. ETN3 Jordan Reed, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. Ensign Gregory Richard, headed to USS Maryland Gold. ETN3 Lee Riches, headed to USS Pennsylvania. Ensign Luke Ritter, headed to USS Nebraska Gold. MMN3 Declan Roberts, headed to ELT school. MMN3 Adriana Rodriguez, headed to ELT school. MMN3 Felipe Romo Lopez, headed to ELT school. MMN3 Adam Roy, headed to USS North Dakota. MMN3 Brian Ruskowski, headed to USS Carl Vinson. ETN3 Andrew Sakuawe, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. Ensign Eugene Sanchez, headed to USS West Virginia Blue. ETN3 Gabriel Sandoval, headed to USS Theodore Roosevelt. Ensign Alexander Schmidt, headed to USS Montana. Ensign Landry Swanevelt, headed to USS Alaska Gold. MMN3 Cameron Scruggs, headed to ELT school. Ensign Henry Shen, headed to USS Tennessee Blue. ETN3 Fernando Silva, headed to USS Minnesota. MMN3 Corey Silva, headed to USS George H.W. Bush. ETN3 Zane Simmons, headed to USS Hartford. ETN3 Michael Skipper, headed to USS Tennessee Gold. ETN3 Carson Slavinsky, headed to USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. ETN3 Nicholas Smith, headed to USS Harry S. Truman. ETN3 Dylan Sorrell, headed to USS South Dakota. MMN3 Kyle Souza, headed to USS John C. Stennis. MMN3 Chase Stacy, headed to ELT school. Ensign Anna Starr, headed to USS Nebraska Blue. EMN3 Daryl Stickles, headed to USS Virginia. EMN3 Billy Stom, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. ETN3 Tracy Suit, headed to USS Alabama Blue. ETN3 Colby Sullivan, headed to USS Henry M. Jackson Blue. EMN3 Takumi Suzuki, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. EMN3 Gabriel Taylor, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit John F. Kennedy. ETN3 Ben Thiede, headed to USS Nevada. EMN3 Parker Thomas, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. EMN3 Patrick Thompson, headed to USS Henry M. Jackson Blue. EMN3 Evan Thornton, headed to USS Washington. ETN 3 Jacob Vernon, headed to USS Scranton. Ensign Hector Villagomez, headed to USS Santa Fe. Ensign Camille Volk, headed to USS Hawaii. MMN-3 Daniel Waddell, headed to USS Abraham Lincoln. MMN-3 Marion Watkins, headed to USS Hawaii. Ensign Matthew Weaver, headed to USS Springfield. MMN-3 Miles Welch, headed to USS Pennsylvania Blue. ETN-3 Karif Williams, headed to Pre-Commissioning Unit, Arkansas. Ensign William Winkler, headed to USS Albany. EMN-3 Arlie Yorty, headed to USS Key West. MMN-3 Emma Young, headed to ELT school. EMN-3 Horacio Zarco, headed to USS Ronald Reagan. And Ensign Micah Zell, headed to USS Washington. All right, please give a big round of applause for all of our graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing while Chaplain Brady delivers the benediction.
Shall we pray? O gracious and eternal God, as these graduates prepare to go out into fleet, we pray your rich blessings upon them and their families who witness this graduation today. We pray, O God, that you will continue to keep us uplifted as we leave from this place, but never from your sight, the source of our strength and the strength of our life. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, after the conclusion of the ceremony, in just a couple of minutes, Admiral Buchanan will re-enlist a large number of the sailors that you saw coming across the stage, and that'll be up in Hangar Bay 1 all the way forward on the ship, or back past the bomber all the way up forward. Family and friends, please join us for that ceremony. It would really be appreciated. Once everybody's there, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Please enjoy your stay while here. And on behalf of the commanding officer, technical director, and site command master chief, I say thank you. NPTU Charleston, attention, dismissed.